Curriculum. Today we started with the implementation. From the implementation, we moved to the pedagogical approaches, meaning the methods and practice of teaching. Now, when we do all of this, we should also be thinking of how do we get feedback? How do we know that what we are doing is yielding results? How do we know when we need to do more? And that takes us to the assessment strategies for entrepreneurship education. So we're going to be doing a little exercise now. I'm going to be sharing you into 6 groups. And you will do what I ask you to do, because I'm your teacher now. So we'll have group 1 here. Somebody here will be the group leader. Okay, you be the group leader. There's a group here. So this is group 1. You are the team leader. I'll let you know what you will do. Group 2, you are the team leader. Madam, I'll tell you are working in group. And the entrepreneurship is telling us that we must add value to whatever we are doing. Whatever you are bringing to the table must be something that there is an addition to value. Something that will attract people to accept it and buy into it. All the things we need to consider when developing a curriculum for entrepreneurship. This morning we started with the implementation strategies, and then we took methods and practice of teaching, which the last speaker dealt with extensively, I must say. But I'm not sure I have the energy to stay that long. But he did a very good work. So I'm just going to be brief in this presentation because we're just going to be talking about the assessment strategy. So the groups now, what I want you to do, having listened to all of these things we're talking about in entrepreneurship education, working in group, I want you to just list for me 5 methods you feel will be appropriate for assessments of entrepreneurship education. 5 methods. And then I'll ask the group leaders to come out one after the other and read out what they have arrived at. So we will have 5 minutes to do that. Just 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, local colleagues. Yes, the 5 methods my group came up with for assessing the students are practicals. We could organize practicals for them so that we will assess them as they are performing the practicals. You look at how they are doing the thing practically. Number 2, we could organize exhibition or trade fair. It's almost the same thing. After the practicals, you look at what they have done. Then you can equally give them projects. This one they take home and they work on it and come back and show you what they have done. Then I also have demonstration. This one you do perform it while the students watch. Then we could, the 5th one, I have the quiz method. Thank you.
Okay. Group 2.
Quiz method.
Now, we came up with the following assessment: progressive assessment, oral interview, clustering, case study, reflective essays.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So can we take group 3? Group 2, you didn't clap for your leader.
And good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
In group 3, we talked about projects done, how we can assess them through the projects they've done. We have experimental feedback from users. We intend that they would produce, give out, perhaps to parents, teachers, then we get a feedback. We assess them through the feedback. Then we have group discussion. We would watch them discuss, and from that discussion, we know how much they have imbibed, how much they have learned. Then we have participation, that's maybe through quiz, then also competitions, that's amongst themselves. Then finally, exhibition and income. During the exhibition, we expect that they would market, and how much they make will attract what we assess them on. Thank you.
Talk about what they do was competition experience. Huh? What is them? That's doing the participation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, group 4.
Exhibitions and incomes.
Look at the assessment in this link. 1.
Group discussions.
At the end of entrepreneurship, we should be able to have someone who is capable of producing something that is valuable in the market. So production capability is number 1. Number 2, look at marketability of the product. Is the product that we are talking about marketable? Are people ready to buy it? Number 3, we look at does it add value to the society or to an individual? Number 4, was the product will be able to sustain the test of time? And finally, does the product also have impact on the world at large or as an individual? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, honorable colleagues.
Good afternoon.
We are in group 5. 5 methods used for assessing our students. 1 is individual stroke group projects. Second one is through practicals. Practicals could be adopted for the students so that they can feel what they've learned. 3, through test. 4, through class assessment and exercise. Lastly is the observation. That is what we use in assessing the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we are taking all of the submissions from the various groups. And we are
I got individual and group projects, practicals, tests.
You see shortly that there are criteria for assessment, and there are methods, and they are different. So we're going to be looking at the slides now. And
impact on the society and world at large.
We'll be getting more in-depth understanding of the strategies we need to employ in the assessment of entrepreneurship education. Entrepreneurship education is the catalyst that transforms dreams into ventures, ideas into innovations, and individuals into change makers. And that is what all of us are here for. Entrepreneurship education is also a systematic instruction and training provided to individuals to develop their knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors necessary to recognize opportunities generate innovative ideas, and manage business ventures. So with all of this at the back of our mind, what is the goal? Why are we doing this? The goal of entrepreneurship education is to empower the individual to become successful entrepreneurs, capable of launching and sustaining new ventures, creating jobs, driving economic growth, and making meaningful contributions to society. Now we come to the object of assessment. Assessment, as we see, is the process of gathering and analyzing information about an individual's knowledge, skills, or other characteristics for making informed decisions. And it involves methods like tests, observations, interview, performance, and these are the common methods of assessment. But when it comes to entrepreneurship education, we'll begin to see something different. What is an assessment strategy? An assessment strategy is a systematic plan to gather evidence of students' learning and then evaluate their progress towards specific learning outcomes. It includes selecting assessment methods, setting criteria, and determining administration, timing, and methods. So now from the little exercise we have done, it has made us to reflect on what we can do as a means of assessing the students' entrepreneurship competence. And we have listed some of these methods. And this is critical. It's part of what the strategy is all about. There must be a method. Now, in designing methods, what are those things we need to have at the back of our mind as far as entrepreneurship education is concerned? What are the things we need to have at the back of our mind? One, we need to align the assessment with learning outcome. What do we hope to achieve in the learner? Remember that we are planning to have a learner that will be able to fit into the ever-changing world, that will not depend on government for a job. A learner that will become an entrepreneur, an employer of labor. So we must align the assessment with the learning outcomes. We must identify entrepreneurial competencies and in the learning outcomes. We must also be able to design the assessment that measures these outcomes. So that is one. Two, we should be able to utilize diverse assessment methods. By the time we come to methods, we see that we can pull in one or two methods of assessment or more while trying to look at how well the student has done or how well the teaching that you have carried out as an entrepreneurial teacher has been able to achieve. So we can do a mixed method to capture different competencies. Talk about pedagogy. He mentioned simulation. Most of these things were mentioned in his presentation. And when it comes to assessment, all of this must also be taken into consideration. Three, the assessment should focus on real-world applications. In designing this strategy, understand that the assessment you are trying to do should focus on real-life applications. For example, business plans, pitching, ideas, and market research. The assessment strategy should also promote reflective practice to be able to integrate reflective activities. You should be able to, like what we have just done now as an exercise, you should be able to integrate reflective practices. It's always said that you should think outside the box. But as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, we must understand that there is no box. It means that there are limitless opportunities that abound. That the idea of having a box is even a kind of limitation. So we must understand that there are limited opportunities. So we can encourage students to reflect on experiences and then set goals.
Picture address.
5, the strategy must provide opportunities for peer feedback. For example, we can encourage constructive feedback on ideas and presentation. If there's a presentation, for example, we can critique it, and from that we can develop a better idea. The strategy must also include formative and summative assessments. The formative assessment is the ongoing assessment. We're all teachers, and we know all of this. So all of this must be brought together in trying to design a method of assessment. 7, the 7th thing to be taken into consideration is that the methods we're thinking of should ensure authenticity and relevance. How? It should involve industry professionals for feedback. Sometimes you need to consult those that have done it successfully. Not just done it, that they have done it successfully. They have become major players in the industry. Their advice, their counsels, and all of that will be useful in designing what method of assessment you want to employ. 8, it should incorporate technology and multimedia. We're in the IT age, and everything we talk about is technology. It is technology that we're even applying in this training. So whatever method we're using for assessment can also incorporate the use of technology. We can have students making presentation online, and then here we sit back to assess what they are doing. So the example there is we can have online platforms, video presentation, interactive simulation. There are so many online platforms that are employed in education, so many of them. And so we can leverage on that in trying to design a method of assessment for entrepreneurship education. Nine, the method to provide clear assessment criteria and rubrics. The method should provide clear assessments, criteria, and rubrics. And that is why when students are going for competition, sometimes the organizers will send the judging criteria ahead, so that the students know on what basis this assessment will be carried out. I remember all of the entrepreneurship competition organized by the FCT Secondary Education Board. Mohammed, you are the people that always come up with the judging criteria. So an assessment method must provide clear assessment criteria and rubrics. So the method should develop clear criteria and rubrics and should be able to communicate the expectations to students. What are the students expected to come up with? All of this must be clear in the method of assessment. Number 10, the method should offer opportunities for self-assessment. It will encourage critical reflection on strengths and weaknesses. Now, having known what assessment methods are, And then what the way to design these methods of assessment, what we must take into consideration. Let us look at the effective assessment methods. Now, from what the various groups presented, as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, we can look at these methods. Some of the things, presentations, will fall into one of these methods, one of these effective methods, or the other. And so we take them. So there was a group that mentioned a case study. There was another group that mentioned I think there was a group that mentioned the market research project. That's how marketable the product is. So, effective assessment methods are methods that include one, business plan development. Business plan development is one effective method of assessment. How good is the business plan? What have you brought? What are you selling to investors? So it's a good method of assessment. Pitch presentation is also a method of assessment. If you remember what the students gather to do during our entrepreneurship competitions and exhibition is pitching. They come to market their products. They come to convince investors that this thing that they have produced is something different, is innovative, is what they can buy into. So pitch presentation is another effective method of assessment. And then we have case study, which some of you have mentioned. We also have simulation and role playing as a method of assessment. When the students come and then they pick up a role and then they simulate and we look at them and make our observations and all of that. So all of these are expected to build up that spirit of entrepreneurship in the child, for the child to inculcate that this is what he or she will need to be able to come up with something in future. It broadens the minds of the students. And then we have reflection journal. Reflection journal is a way of putting together all the activities the students are doing. Maybe you have done something in week 1, you record it. Week 2, you record it. Week 3, you record it. And at the end of the day, you have what we call a reflection journal. And that is something that can be assessed to. The progress being made from the beginning of the term to the end of the term that has been recorded can also be an effective method of assessing entrepreneurship education. They will also have peer feedback and evaluation, peer review. We also have market research projects. You can do a market research to know what products will be in high demand. And you know what product will be in high demand. How are you going to improve on that one that is already in the market? How are you going to do it better? Maybe you change your packaging. Maybe you change the size of the container of your product to make it more affordable, and at least make it more affordable to a larger number of the populace. So all of that is also something that we can use as an effective assessment method. Then we have innovation challenges. Yes, this is part of what we do in the entrepreneurship competition is this. Everybody comes up with something, and then at the end of the day, we say this is most innovative. This one is taking the first prize for this reason, going by all of the judging criteria. So we have innovation challenge, we have feasibility studies. Feasibility studies It's not far from the market research project. And then we have portfolio assessment. Portfolio assessment, where you begin to look at what the students have done and how much they are able to bring from it. You begin to look at the satisfaction of consumers. In portfolio assessment, you look at that. You look at how much you are putting into the business and what you have realized for the business. From the business, it tells you how well that learner has been able to impact that education into practice. We have known which methods we can use to effectively assess the performance of our students in entrepreneurship. What is the gain? What is the gain that we expect to come out of this? When we employ effective assessment methods, what is the gain? What do we expect to benefit from this? One, the use of effective assessment method has the potential to develop practical skills in the learner. Practical skills, practical and entrepreneurial skills in the learner. It also has the potential to foster critical thinking. When you deploy this effective method of assessment, and all of these are known to the students in trying to meet up, will also develop critical thinking, because in coming up with products, in coming up with new ways of providing services, you should be able to think. Number three, it promotes creativity and innovation, which we have mentioned, and I think most of the resource persons so far have talked about creativity and innovation. Effective assessment method also encourages risk-taking. In fact, you cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you don't have the capacity to take risk. So all of these methods of assessments gives the learner the courage to begin to venture, to take risk, to begin to do things that ordinarily you will not have the confidence. And that is the mindset we talk about. It takes you out of the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. And when you are moving into the growth mindset, you, of course, must take risk. You must take risks. It also enhances communication skills. If you are trying to market products, if you are trying to pitch, you should be able to communicate effectively with your prospective consumer. If you are not able to communicate effectively, you may not be able to convince your prospective consumer about your product or services. So, effective communication skills is one thing that will be enhanced through effective assessment of entrepreneurship. Why we are saying this is because when you do this assessment effectively, the learner is learning to improve himself. You make mistakes and you say no, because you have employed an effective method of assessing this learner. So the learner will do everything to improve in whatever he or she is doing. And by so doing, all of these things will be noticed and become a product of the learner. And then the next is that it will cultivate resilience and adaptability. Yes, for you to get to the point, for you to get what you want, for you to break into the market, you must be resilient. You must be resilient. When you do something and know, due to the method of assessment, you are told that this is not good enough, you go back. You go back to think of how to improve on it. You keep improving until you get it right. And as you are improving, you are adapting. You are changing, you are adapting. So one of the gains of effective method of assessment is that it cultivates resilience and adaptability. Again, it empowers self-directed learning. It empowers self-directed learning. You are putting the learner in a position where he must try to figure out things on his own. And the ideas that comes from the learner becomes that his or her idea, which can be developed through the help of a professional. When we went to the UK, at the University of Cambridge, there is a center called the Idea Center. The Idea Center is a center where young entrepreneurs come up with ideas, their own original ideas. And then because they need the support of people that are in the industry and professionals, these ideas are brought into the center to be incubated, to be developed. So, self-directed learning is one achievement that can come out from an effective method of assessment of entrepreneurship education. Because ideas will begin to flow. As long as the learner understands the benefit of entrepreneurship education and what it all stands for, that is all about innovation, adding value, bringing up a new thing, throwing up something quite different into the market. Actually, there's nothing that is completely new, but there are always improvements on whatever is in existence, whatever is in the market. So that idea to come up with something different, something that everyone can say that there's a value added to it, can come out of self-directed learning. And last but not the least is to prepare for future career. Prepare for future career opportunities. And we are in this drive to produce entrepreneurs because we have been sleeping for long. And we have been sleeping for long, and we can see how it has affected the economy of the country, because everybody is looking up to the government to provide everything, to provide jobs and all of that. But the more we're able to bring up entrepreneurs that can stand on their own, that can ultimately become employers of labor, the better it will be for our country. So ultimately, if we do effective assessments of entrepreneurship education, all of this will be achieved. At the end of the day, our learners, our children will be prepared for future career opportunities. Once they see an opportunity, they grab it because they are prepared. They have the entrepreneurial mindset. Because the schools that we are bringing them up, we have developed the school and made that school an entrepreneurial ecosystem where entrepreneurial minds will be bred. So that understanding is there. The child right from the school is thinking, what am I going to do? What do I need to do? What can I do differently from my local environment? And that reduces dependency on government and gives that child that confidence of I can. And with one step at a time, getting it wrong, getting it right, and making all of the improvements that are necessary, the child will eventually achieve
that goal of being an entrepreneur. It may take time, but as long as the child is focused, he will get to the destination. He will achieve the goal. He will realize the dream, and the country eventually will be better off for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. That was a presentation from the country.